My name is Bill Howard, and I'm a photographer and filmmaker. And 2 years ago, in 2020, I was hired to shoot a calendar for a nonprofit group. And these would be environmental portraits, and the subjects were throughout the U.S. And I went to this one subject, and we were talking, we kind of hit it off. And he asked me why I was traveling so far, considering I lived in North Carolina, and I told him I was shooting the whole calendar and I would be throughout the U.S. And he said, he asked me if I was going to be staying in the Four Corners area. And I told him that I wasn't sure. I would be going through there. I just didn't know if I would be staying there because depending on what time of day I would be passing through. And he asked me to put my phone down and turn it off. And I did that and laid it on the ground in the grass. And then he motioned for me to follow him out into the cornfield. And we went a good 50, 75 yards, 100 yards into the cornfield. And the whole time he was looking around, and I have no idea what's going on here. Well, he told me how he was friends with an astronaut and like close personal friends. And it's a well-known astronaut, and it kind of, I didn't know how to take it. He actually showed me a picture of him and this astronaut earlier, and it looked like maybe a staged photo, like a meet and greet type thing. But anyway, he was telling me how they were close, and so he had left one position with the government and went into intelligence instead because of what this astronaut had told him. So, I listened to everything, and he warned me about the Four Corners area. And he told me a lot of information that was just really way out there. And, at that point, you begin to wonder exactly where he is mentally. Is he a conspiracy theorist? Is he just schizophrenia? Is he just crazy? Who knows? Well, one of the things he told me was within the month that the Pentagon would be releasing information on UFOs. Now, again, this is in 2020. And the very next Friday, the Pentagon released information on UFOs. I was like, wow, that's pretty wild. And when we got back to his house, he had showed me another picture of him and the astronaut. And this time it wasn't a staged looking photo like at a meet and greet. It was them in the backyard of the house I was at a birthday party. So, so now he's got two things that are kind of living up to the billing there. And yeah, that was kind of strange. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I got word that he had passed away. And last week, I got this envelope, and it has this letter in it. And it's a lot of scribbling from him, lots of little notes that kind of furthered what he was telling me. And it had 3 contacts. And it said that those 3 people would know who I am and be willing to talk to me. So I called the numbers, and 2 of the people agreed to talk with me. They'll talk with me on this camera, but they will not talk to me on the phone. And the 3rd one passed away about 6 months ago from COVID. But I'm currently sitting at a rest stop on the interstate, and I'm still trying to process in my mind that I am about to travel 600 miles to interview this first guy about something that's just like really way out there. And, I'm wondering what kind of rabbit hole I'm about to get into. It's going to be kind of crazy.
Can you tell me your name and occupation? I'll bleep out your name for the film.
Of course. My name is. I was a nuclear engineer. I'm retired now.
As you know, Mr. passed away a couple of weeks ago. I contacted you based on a letter he wrote and instructed his family to mail to me upon his passing. The letter stated if I contacted you, then you would have some information that you wanted to tell me. I'm not sure where to begin because I'm not sure exactly what he wanted you to tell me.
That's okay. I, I know what he talked to you about a couple of years ago. Uh, I know what information he wants out. We, we, we all want it out. We just have to watch ourselves.
Do you mind if this is more of a casual type interview, more conversation than formal questioning?
Yes, that's perfectly fine.
Is the we that you and the others were in the letter as well as Mr. And what do you mean by watching yourselves?
We includes many of us that worked on this program. The names he sent you are the ones that agreed they would talk with you. Even he didn't want to spread too much information, which is why he waited until his death. The government does funny things. Sometimes they quiet the people that have information if they feel it will damage the program. Sometimes they allow the information to be released and let the media handle the sanity of the claims. Sometimes they provide claims that are so bizarre it causes the person to be looked at as if being crazy, and therefore any true information gets discredited as well. It's, it's the nature of the game.
I ask for you maybe start from the beginning of what you all want out there to the public.
Again, I'm a nuclear scientist. I guess you could say I'm a second generation nuclear scientist. I came about this after the initial nuclear information was being formed. I can tell you from working with the first generations of scientists that we in no way could have come as far as we did during the beginning of the Cold War without help.
You mean like the foreign scientists such as Einstein assisting with the Manhattan Project?
No, Einstein was the smartest man alive, no doubt. But he didn't understand nuclear technology. He only understood what we were being taught. However, even he couldn't understand all of it.
Being
Yeah.
taught, who's doing the teaching?
Uh, Others that knew more than humans.
As in aliens?
Sure.
So you're saying Einstein met with aliens?
I'm saying not only did Einstein meet with aliens, but many of our top scientists met with aliens.
And without that passing of knowledge, we wouldn't know about nuclear science.
No, we knew about nuclear science. We were on that in the early 1900s. We were working with quantum field theory in the 1920s, but we were always running into inconsistencies with our science. The information we were handed either helped us find out why we had the inconsistencies, or it helped us to further our knowledge and develop new theories.
So we could build the bomb?
No, they weren't here to help us build bombs. There were other purposes. We were smart enough to figure out the immense power of what they were teaching us, and it could be weaponized. They didn't pick sides in the war, nor the Cold War. They had their reasons for teaching us.
All right. What do you mean by their reasons and what did they teach us exactly?
Perhaps they needed that technology for their own power or their own survival. I can't tell you for sure. It's likely made it easier on them to teach us what was needed and let us do the work of providing the ingredients rather than having them search the earth for themselves, especially when it would be heavily guarded and maintained. As for what they taught us, basically, they cleared us everything we didn't understand about nuclear atomic energy. Well, maybe I stated that incorrectly. They cleared up some of what we didn't understand. They also showed us things that we're still speculating and trying to test even today. Concepts such as multi-dimensions, past what we know, string theory, M theory, quantum gravity. They are all expansions of what we were shown, but didn't have enough foundation yet to understand.
I recognize string theory that you mentioned. Isn't that a fairly recent concept according to science?
Oh no, as I mentioned, we were working with quantum field theory as early as the 1920s. I'm of the belief that shortly after we made first real contact, that S theory started to develop. We were able to take what we thought was correct and then look at the new information we were being shown to get us over the next hump in understanding.
S theory is that short for string theory?
No, S theory was the precursor to string theory. String theory was further developed based on the foundation of S theory.
Why didn't these beings, these aliens, go ahead and pass along all of their knowledge?
The communication gap was too wide. Do you think I can give a first grader a complex algebraic formula and ask them to solve it when they're just understanding the concept of addition and subtraction? No, of course you don't. We are that first grader, and we were just getting into even the slightest understanding of substructures of nuclear science. We were shown things that we had no way to even try to observe prior. Science is full of theory and observation. It's the very definition of science. The first generation of nuclear science were the first ones that were allowed to observe, at least on that scale. It took the really great minds to even come close to getting the concept remotely in their heads.
This is absolutely amazing information. You said you were a second generation nuclear scientist. You also said in working with the first generation, they told you that we wouldn't have garnered the information without the help. You actually know first generation scientists that work with aliens?
Yes,
If they say what they look like, where they stayed?
a lot of it was hush hush talk quietly around the water cooler talk. Again, too much information, and you can become an outcast. Everyone was and is on non disclosure agreements. And no, these NDAs doesn't mean the government will sue you. It means the government will ruin your livelihood. These conversations were always discreet, with an understanding that you don't ask for more information. You just take in what you're given. As where they stayed, I don't know. I never saw one. I never saw evidence of one. I only heard by certain others, and they never mentioned their looks as far as I remember. Probably similar to us in the fact they're humanoid. I would imagine there would have been talk if they looked like an octopus or a giant praying mantis. It was probably overwhelming to all that did encounter them personally. Uh, it would have been for me.
I can understand that. This here is a bit overwhelming, to be honest. It isn't quite what I expected in talking with you.
What did you expect?
I don't know, not this, I guess. Maybe I did. I don't even know why I followed up on this letter and called you.
He must have given you enough information to make you believe it could be true.
His predictions came true. It was like within a week after that he told me, and I've always been a little interested in space and aliens and even paranormal.
And conspiracy theories?
Well, it's some, I guess, but this one feels different. It is different.
It is. You must understand it doesn't really matter that you weren't part of these programs when you release information such as this. If it gains any traction, the government will find a way to shut it down, either by erasing the information, making it even more fanciful than what you do share, or by destroying you.
What do you mean by destroying me?
Not killing you, but rather by making you seem to be off your rocker. As I said when we first started this interview, the government doesn't want too much information released. They have a very convincing PR protocol, and they don't let their casual release of information about UFOs fool you either. There's a bigger plan, whatever that plan may be.
So there's more to the story than what they're releasing right now.
Absolutely. And I've seen scientists, intelligent personnel officials, all destroyed by trying to go with their own agendas rather than the government's. People such as Lazar and Aldrin and Greer are names that the casual alien conspiracy fan will recognize, for instance. Just be careful and be prepared.
Yes, sir. I'll try. You think I should go through with the rest of this?
Yes, it needs to get out. Let's see what the government does with information such as this. Hopefully, you will get further details through your other interviews.
Well, I only have one other interview, actually. One of the gentlemen that was on the letter, he died about 6 months ago from COVID,
Who?
the lab technician.
Hmm. I didn't hear. He was a good man. He would have been a tremendous asset to your interviews. Also, he is actually one of the people that dealt firsthand with the aliens. Yes, he was more than a lab tech. He was a liaison. I'm really saddened to hear that. Anyway, I need to cut the interview. I hope you've gotten a good start, if nothing else. Wow. I need to process the loss of two of my friends now.
Certainly, I can understand. I'm sorry. But, thank you immensely for this. So tomorrow's the big day. It'll be the second interview regarding this alien government conspiracy thing. And like I said, there were 3 people on the sheet. I've talked to one of them, and the second one is tomorrow. But I've got about 500 miles or so to this next interview, and so I'm gonna have to leave this afternoon, and we've got rain that's coming in, so it's gonna be a bit of a messy drive. So I really hope it's worth it. This next one is an intelligence officer that has supposedly worked with the guy that sent me the letter upon his passing. So I'm kind of anticipating some juicy information here. Be interesting to see how it follows up to the scientist, the nuclear guy. So yeah, I need to get my camera bag, and I need to shave before I leave, and I'm gonna be on the road. Big interview tomorrow. Yes, sir. Please, yes, sir, right over here. I'm gonna put a mic on you, okay? Is that all right?
Yes.
Speak for me.
Yes, sir.
Count to 3.
1, 2, 3.
Can you state your name and what you used to do with the government? The name will be retracted in the video, of course.
Yes. My name is Ron Blake. I used to work for the CIA. Before we get too far in this, can you please put your phone over there and kill the power?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, sir. I'm not quite sure where to begin. Perhaps a little background?
Yes. I used to work for the CIA, primarily stationed at Tinker and Edwards.
Okay, we know we're here to talk about aliens and UFOs and such. Were you ever at Wright-Patterson? Weren't they the ones that oversaw the Project Blue Book?
I guess this is a good place to start. All CIA agents aren't the same. All military units aren't the same. Wright-Patterson did oversee Project Blue Book, but that project only reported about findings and investigations of sightings. They didn't know what we knew. Just like I don't know about, say, the Russians in the Cold War. It wasn't what I was assigned to.
What were you assigned to?
Missing persons.
I don't quite understand.
I was primarily assigned to missing persons in the Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada regions.
Tell me why.
I was one of the few that knew why people would go missing. Fortunately, we would convince people that missing persons in that area were due primarily to common deaths in a brutal area. Hot desert, dangerous animals. I mean, everything in the desert wants to kill you. As the years passed, we could begin to blame it on the drug trade and cartels out of Mexico.
So you're saying it was something else?
Yes.
You want to elaborate?
Are you prepared to hear the truth?
I guess, yeah.
It actually began back in the 30s. That was the first contact. Alien creatures, intelligent beings were found. They abducted people. Our government knew about it. They've known about it all along.
How long does this go on?
Well, 80 years now, I would say.
Like it's still going on?
It never stopped. What could we do about it?
That's kind of a hard thing to believe.
Stop at any rest area in Colorado, Utah, Nevada. You will find hundreds of missing people flyers. New Mexico, Arizona, it's all the same. And when you look at the flyers, look under the flyers. There are just more and more, all recent as well. Things are changing.
Changing?
Yes,
What do you mean?
we have to do certain things, and we stopped. So now things are changing. I can't go too deep in an explanation, but our leader's done some things recently that causes changes to happen.
Are you saying our top leaders know about this?
Not the leaders you know. Elected officials know nothing. They may speculate, but they don't know anything.
Can you tell me why this is happening? Is it only in the Southwest?
The land that is in the Four Corners region, I think, is similar to what the aliens are accustomed to from their home. They're different from us. They likely live much longer than us, from what I can gather. Communication is difficult, but we stay in contact with them. The government, that is. As for the missing people, the aliens are performing tests. We are very much like lab rats to them, I believe. Every now and then, some are released. They usually end up homeless, deemed crazy, brains fried.
And our president will know this?
Our president and our past presidents know nothing about this. Well, most of them.
Knows? You mean we have had our president know about it?
Look, this isn't something that is shared. This required not only top-level clearance, but a very specific clearance as well.
Doesn't the president have top clearance?
No, you don't understand. I'll tell you about the one I knew about. By all accounts, President Carter is a good man. Horrible president, but a good man. He wanted to know about what we were doing here. Nothing would be revealed. He stayed persistent, thinking we did have something about aliens. He told us his chief of staff wanted the files. Again, he was told there were no files. He threatened shutting down funding the part of the military if you didn't get the files. The next day, he was given access to over 10,000 pages. Carter read over them, and the following day, he cut funding anyway. He was warned not to. He didn't care. He thought it was horrible that we were covering up the abductions. Within the next 2 weeks, 7 of our top scientists were killed. We had to divert funding from the other programs so we could continue the cover-up investigations and continue to work with the aliens without letting Carter know.
Are you serious? Any other presidents?
No others in full detail. No. You should understand, the president, Congress, they're all temporary employees. They don't need to know. The ones that get involved with a program such as this are lifers.
What do they do with the people that are abducted?
Imagine anything they want to. We don't know. Again, we are lab rats to them. Remember, I said they tend to live longer than us. Best I can tell, and this is only speculation from us that have worked with them, is they live maybe 10 times longer than us. They probably can make it from their world to ours in a lifetime. Or a partial lifetime, but likely not get back before they die. They can experiment on us, and our lifetimes being so much shorter. They can see what certain things can do in a shorter amount of time.
Is this to help us, like figure out the cure for COVID or cancer?
You think they give a shit about us? Again, we're lab rats. You think a scientist has any real feelings for a rat? When we experiment on rats, it isn't to figure out how to help their species and population. Why should you think an alien species that is experimenting on humans is doing so to help humans? We're just lab rats.
I'm trying to process this.
Nothing to process. It is happening. I honestly think it has something to do with radiation, though. They tend to stay in radioactive locations.
So they're trying to figure out a way to keep us or them living near radiation?
No. I think they are trying to figure out how to live without radiation.
I don't understand.
Neither does anyone else. But from what I've gathered, aliens and radiation have always been intertwined. People that show up after being missing for years have radiation issues. Burns, cancer, stuff related to radiation exposure.
Why do they stay in this area from what you have said?
When we first started working with nuclear technology, we tested in this area. We continue to store radioactive materials and wastes in this area. Well, we did until last year. That's why we are seeing more people released. I think it is punishment. That's part of the change. The information being released publicly is to prepare the population for future disclosure. A little info then, a little more info now. Soon we are spoon-fed information and nobody cares.
I don't understand what you mean by punishment.
You told me you powered it off.
I did, you saw me.
They're listening. They can hear us. Whose interview is over? I'm done. It's over. You want to know more? Research Arnold Smith. Reno. Recent.
For 2 weeks, I've been trying to find this guy. I mean, the way the last interview ended, you know, it seemed like that was a priority, right? I needed to find him. And I'm able to find anything. I mean, I've been just plain Google. I've been through, Google News, been through Yahoo News, uh been to the library to see if I could find something. I mean, just nothing. Uh and then a few minutes ago, long enough for me to stop and set this camera up, I had an email, and it's an email I should have never got. It should have went to the spam filter. I mean, the email address it came from was just nothing but numbers and letters all jumbled up together. But it was marked urgent, and so I saw it, and I made sure there's nothing for me to click on. But there's only 2 lines: the guy's name and the guy's phone number. The guy that I'm looking for, Arnie Smith. So, I mean, I reckon I should call him, right? And that's why I stopped and set his camera up. Yes, is this Mr. Smith? Hey, my name is Bill Howard. I was given your phone number and your name. I'm doing a story on UFOs and like government cut. And then no, this I really am doing a story on it. I'm actually doing a documentary video if I can. Um, I mean, I'll be happy to have it where you're not seen. If I could just, have you, like silhouetted on the camera, you, you don't mind? Wait, I mean, now it was mentioned you're in Nevada. Is that right? You are. Well, I'm in North Carolina. It would take me. It'll be a couple of weeks before I could get there. But yes, yes, sir. It basically I'm gonna just set up a camera and I'll ask you a few questions. Maybe listen to your story. Yeah, the think the person that gave me your information is a former CIA agent. No, sir. I can't give you his name. I mean, well, honestly, I don't know that it's him. A former CIA agent gave me your name, but I got your phone number from a kind of like an anonymous email. You don't mind? Like I said, it'll be a couple of weeks. Is there a way I can maybe get you to text me your address? And of course, I've got your phone number and save mine in your phone. Again, my name is Bill Howard. Yes, sir. Well, we'll set up somewhere and we'll talk for an hour
and just get some information and see if we can get the story out there. Okay. Thank you. Expect to hear from me sometime toward the end of this week. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Either somebody's trying to help me or somebody's really playing me for the fool here. Looks like I'm going to Nevada.
As I get closer to having this final interview, it makes me wonder, how much time do you invest on vetting who you speak with? I mean, the two people that I've talked to, the only vetting I have is names and numbers from a dead man. The one I'm going to speak to now was a name that was thrown at me in the closing heated moments of an interview, and then given to me by an anonymous email 2 weeks later. With misinformation and disinformation, it's easy to get one aspect of the story to have an inconsistency. And does that mean the whole story, the whole truth is wrong? Now, I sit here and I think, this universe is huge. It would be foolish to think that there's not something else. Even if you're religious, I'm religious, I'm a Christian. But even in Christianity, we believe that there's something else other than us. And in light of what the government has allowed in the last couple of years, in the last couple of months, I mean, we know we're unique here on Earth. Earth has a diversity both biologically and geographically. It's not like the moon where there's no life, and basically if you were to walk on the moon and go anywhere on the moon, it all looks the same. I mean, here I am on salt flats, huge. I'm talking many square miles of salt flats. We have oceans, we have mountaintops with, temperatures in which humans wouldn't be able to live. Not enough air for us to live, but there's still life. There's life at the bottom of the ocean. There's life at the mouths of volcanoes. We're like a huge cosmic petri dish. So why wouldn't aliens be interested in what we're doing here on Earth? It's something that seriously needs to be thought about. So you kind of have to, I don't say want to give faith to what you're hearing from these interviews, but you have to at least go in with an open mind, get the stories, and go from there, I guess.
All right. Mr. Smith, thanks for doing this interview. Is it okay if I put this mic on you real quick?
Yeah, give it to me. I could put it on.
I'm gonna just do a quick mic check. Can you count to 3 for me?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Again, I don't really have any information.
Who'd you say gave me? Who'd you say you gave me my name?
It was a CIA agent.
What was his name?
It's like I told you on the telephone call. I can't give out his name. We were doing an interview like this, and I had my phone off. It was set off to the side. All of a sudden, it came on, and he stopped the interview and threw out your name as he was leaving.
Ah, an agent with a conscience. The higher ups were onto him.
Yeah,
I love it.
he was spooked pretty bad when the phone came on. But can you tell me why he gave me your name?
He didn't say.
No. No, sir.
I was abducted.
Abducted.
Yes.
Okay, can you tell me what happened?
Well, it was about 3.5 years ago. I was out in the desert, and I was just watching the stars like I always do, and then I saw a bright light getting bigger as if it was approaching, and then everything went dark.
Are you saying aliens got you?
Yes.
Can you tell me what they look like?
Well, when I awoke, there were the most hideous beings standing over me. Grayish, flesh-toned, large heads, hairless.
Is this like what people say are the Greys?
Yes and no. What we depict them as is gray, smooth, emotionless figures, when in actuality they are more detailed than that. They're much more human-like. They have large, oval-shaped eyes. The eye sockets are oval-like, textured, scaly. I don't know, it's like what you would normally picture, but a lot more humanoid. They have expressions in their faces.
What did they do?
Well, they took us up on the first ship, and then we were transported to a second ship.
And we?
Well, on the first ship, it was about a dozen of us. On the second ship, it was about 2 dozen of us.
All right, I got to keep up with this for a second. I guess first tell me about the ship.
Okay, on the first ship, it was about the size of a small commercial airplane. Not the same shape, of course. Round. I know there were at least 2 floors. We couldn't roam around. We were paralyzed, frozen. We couldn't even move our eyes. All we could do was pick up what was in our peripheral. Then we were transported to a second ship, which was about the size of a small department store. It was in orbit.
In orbit. Orbit, like you're in orbit around the Earth.
Yes, that's where they ran tests on us.
What kind of tests did they run?
I don't know, a physical, I guess. Heart, health, blood types. We were actually separated into 4 groups.
Do you know how they chose the groups?
No, males and females were mixed together. So I don't think sex mattered. Age didn't seem to matter either. I guess we were just groups for their experiments they wanted to do later.
I mean, how long were you abducted?
3.5 years.
But hold on, 3 years. They had you for 3 years. What happened like when you came back?
Well, they dropped me off naked in the desert. I found some people who called the police. The police came and questioned me and put me in a cell. And then the feds came.
You're talking like the FBI?
No, well, yeah, like the guys that have no name. They come and question me as well for several days. And then when I was released, I decided to contact my family. Well, they said that my mother and father had died from this COVID thing, whatever that is. My brother and sister were all I had left. And they were told by them that I was on meth, and they found me in Vegas. You have to excuse me for a second. Okay. You know what the sad part about it is? I don't even drink or smoke.
I mean, did they believe you when you told them the story?
No. I'm here to die on my own. F***ing government liars.
What do you mean? Are you dying?
Yes, I'm dying. I got cancer in my kidneys, my liver. It's filling up in my lungs. I'm gonna die here. I'm gonna die soon.
Are you okay to continue the interview? I mean, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, we can continue. Where they did the experiments, it was high radiation. You could smell it in the air. It's like bitter, metallic.
And this is on the second shift.
No, this is on the third ship, the biggest ship.
Tell me about this third shift.
Third ship. Well, the third ship was much larger. It's about the size of a small mall, perhaps. It orbited way outside of the moon's orbit.
How can you tell it was outside the moon's orbit?
Because we could see the moon between us and Earth.
You're looking out windows?
No, it was just a visual. I can't really explain it. It's not a hologram. It's not a window. It's not a screen. I don't know. It's weird. I can't I don't even know if there's a word for it.
Okay, so we've got you and a couple of dozen other people in this large ship that's way outside the moon's orbit. Were they just running more tests?
No, first on the big ship, there was about maybe 200 of us, give or take. We're still separated into groups, of course. Let me get something straight. These were experiments. These weren't tests.
What kind of experiments?
They would take sperm. They would take eggs from women. Women. Not all of them were women. Some were 10 and 12 years old, probably. Anyway, they did tests like that. They would remove body parts from some people. They constantly kept this pump full of this liquid. I mean, I don't know if it was to keep us fed, keep us protected from the radiation.
And I know you're shook up. Can you tell me what they were doing with the reproductive stuff?
I don't know, trying to get us to make a hybrid maybe? Or trying to alter our DNA? Or alter their DNA naturally? I mean, that's what we were figuring.
And they kept you for 3 years, all of you.
No, I was kept for 3 years. There were always people dying and being replaced. Probably 2 or 3 dozen a week cycled through there.
I mean, I don't know what I mean.
Yep, I understand. Except for I lived through it. Well, about 9 months ago, they started releasing us. The women were pregnant when released.
Hold on, they were pregnant.
Yes.
Holy
They'll abort, have miscarriages, stillbirths. They always did.
That's pretty up.
No. It is up. No one should have to go through this. No one should have to deal with this when they get back.
I understand.
No, you don't. No, you couldn't possibly understand. You have no idea that our government just sits here covering up while we're being taken and experimented on and then left to die. But if we do make it back, if we make it back, then we're left here to die. I'm going to die soon.
I understand, man. I do.
No, you don't. You do not understand. I have less than 6 months. I have less than 6 months to live. Less than 6 months. You have no idea. I mean, I sat back and watched dozens upon dozens of people die each week. Cycled through each week. And then I come back. I make it back, of course. I come back. And they have convinced the only family I have that I'm a meth addict.
Look, man, I got you. I'm on your side. I'm on your side. Just calm down.
Calm. Calm. Man, f you. F this interview. Man, I'm sorry. Just get the story out. They're gonna come looking for you when you do. But do it for me. Do it for us. Just get the story out. I gotta go, man. Just please do that for me.
What is this? Is it real? Is the final impression of a troubled man that went missing for 3 years going to be this? If what Arnie Smith said is true, what secrets does our night skies hold? I decided to make a few stops along the way back home. Are they planes? Are they satellites? Are they something else?
Well, I just surpassed the 5,000 mile mark, and this last interview was completely different than what I was expecting. It's got me doubting whether to actually finish this documentary up, to be honest with you. Got a lot to think about. But we're approaching sundown, and just in case I continue with the documentary, I can't think of a better place to do a night sky survey looking for UFOs than where I'm at right now.
And then I captured these two lights. This isn't a time lapse. This is 24 frames per second video. Satellites in pairs? Well, these were traveling from the south to the north. They disappear as the Earth blocks the sun. Could these have alien orbital holding facilities, harboring dozens of people paralyzed from fear and extraterrestrial influence? How can we look at the stars the same ever again? All right. In light of what we've been told,
I'm going to take this part and I'm going to edit to the end of what I've already shot. I'm on a friend's laptop. I'm in a hotel room. That way they can't follow the IP address to the house and shut it down before it gets out, but I'm going to send it everywhere I can. And I'm going to get discredited. You're going to be told this is fake, that it's not real. You're going to have to decide for yourself. Do some of the research yourself. How many are there that are like Arnie Smith that's been abducted